I want to ask one question to Ron Christie, though. Don't you see the disproportionate figures of blacks in prison, unemployed, in poverty, stopped and searched by the police and so on, as expressions of racism? Or do you see it all as a consequence of the content of their character, to use Martin Luther King's phrase?
Well, I think, unfortunately, if you look at the context and where this came from, I think that Dr. King obviously preached personal responsibility and wanted people to take personal responsibility for their actions. There was a former senator who at the time worked for our Department of Labor, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, and he wrote a report in 1965 about the black family. In 1965, there were 23% of black births in the United States that were born out of wedlock. You come forward to 2013, that figure has jumped from 23% to 73% of black children born out of wedlock. What does that breed? It breeds the fact that you have more often than not, a woman, a single parent, heading a household. That mother oftentimes has to put her education on hold or drop her career to take care of that child, which leads to another cycle of dependency. And so I think one of the things that is lost in this discussion is the fact that people honestly have not looked at the breakdown of the black family and assuming responsibility for, if you are going to have a child and you are going to bring another individual in the world, there are consequences. And my last comment to that I would say, going back to Sue Hale's comment about something to the effect of a black masquerading for a white figure, that is exactly what Dr. King preached against. And again, of judging individuals based on the content of their character rather than the color of their skin, and to make a simplistic, baseless attack for holding forth to one's political or personal views only underscores really how far we have to go and how some folks need to be more enlightened in their perspective.
Alana, I can see you're itching to get in again.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I'm a little bit upset about in the context of this debate is that we don't have any women of color participating in it. But you know, obviously, Ron Christie has given me the opening to make the point about gender. And what he's just engaged in is the most kind of classical, demeaning of black womanhood. And, you know, just writing out the script, the typical script of Republicans, which is, you know, then replicated in so many contexts around the world. I mean, you have your own version of it in Britain when it comes to single mothers. They don't necessarily have to be black. Blaming women, if you like, for the problems of racism, which are always structural and systemic and have very little to do with either, you know, the particular family or the particular culture, which is another problematic notion that David Lammy brought up, I think, you know, is to completely misunderstand how race works structurally. And I think we need to bring it back to that point.
I don't know if you're aware of an organisation called the National Front or the BNP. These are kind of our versions of the Ku Klux Klan attacking me on the street. They don't ask me where my parents are. They beat me because I am black. It's as simple as that.
The 2 points are not congruent. My point of the fact of the matter is that Dr. King preached personal responsibility and that there has been a breakdown in the black family. Alana says, oh, well, Ron is blaming the victim and blaming people. I'm merely stating the truth. The truth of the matter is that the folks who purport to speak for civil rights in the United States don't talk about the really significant consequences of the breakdown in the family.
White families break up. What's happened to them? What about the white families that break up?
The white families don't have those disparate statistics.
Rob, can I just ask if there's anybody in the audience who wants to get involved in this debate? Because I can see a lot of itchy people. Somebody at the back there who wants to speak. Yes?
Hi, I have a question about the numbers here. You're sort of 70% of black absentee fathers. How many of them are in prison?
Well, in the United States today, actually, the incarceration rate for black males constitute 6% of the population in America, and they constitute 40% of the folks who are in prison at the state and the federal level.
I thought it was higher than that. I thought it was more like 1 in 10 young black men were in prison.
No, the statistics there are actually, if you're between the ages of 18 and 30 in the United States, it's 1 in 3 that's within the purview of the criminal justice system, either in jail or on parole or under supervised release.
Do you recognise the point I'm making, which is the contribution of the incarceration of black men to the problem you're identifying, which is large numbers of absentee fathers, i.e. it's institutionalised racism that's causing that problem?
Again, I don't believe in the systemic notion of institutionalized racism is at the cause of all the ailments of blacks in America. It's part of it, but it's not all of it. And to suggest that also individuals who are committing these crimes, that they're suddenly victims and they made, it's not their fault that they pulled a gun on somebody. It's not their fault that they killed somebody. If you look in the United States, if you look in New York City alone, 92% of murders of individuals who are black in New York City are committed by other blacks. But of course, in your view, then therefore, they should somehow be held blameless. I think that we need to hold individuals, regardless of the color of their skin, responsible for the actions that they take.